What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. I am your host, Peter Parkour of the Distorted Theorists, and I'm here today to review the newest episodes of Daredevil Born Again Season 1 on Disney+. Now, before we get into anything else, as always, there's a little bit of housekeeping. If you are new to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below if you're enjoying the content, and especially if you want to tell your friends to subscribe as well. If you are returning to the channel, as always, make sure to hit that like, share, and comment down below to tell us, the Distorted Theorists, what you think of Daredevil Season 1, Daredevil Born Again Season 1. Now, without any further ado, let's get into the review for the newest episodes of Daredevil. So, of course, as you saw from the earlier part of the video, I am here today to talk about the newest episode of Daredevil Born Again on Disney+. Now, this is episode 4, and the title of this episode is called Sic Semper Systema. And the actual tagline for the episode that I've seen on various sources says that the darker halves of Matthew Murdock and Wilson Fisk fight to emerge and come out. And that's a little bit of what this episode really and truly is. I'm going to get into the bigger things of what I think are going to eventually start happening after. But first, let's go through what actually happens in this episode. So it's a fairly long episode as well. We start off with the immediate aftermath of last episode, where we saw White Tiger out on patrol, and unfortunately he got pretty quickly by somebody that had a vest with what seemed to be the Punisher symbol on it. Now, of course, we were looking back at that, and the immediate response was like, "Oh my God, it's the Punisher!" But you never see their face, and that does get dealt with in this episode as well. So we are at we see Matt at the morgue, and he's either helping to identify or at least just kind of there to pay his respects to White Tiger, and we see his niece or his daughter show up. And I'm pretty sure in the comics that she ends up taking the name of White Tiger, and I think she fights alongside Peter Parker as Spider-Man for a while as well. So that's kind of cool to see. Whether they're going to develop that in the show, I can't say, because I mean, she's literally a kid. I don't, in this pretty vicious show, I don't know if they're going to show a kid getting the crap beat out of him or vice versa. And then it kind of splits, leading, taking away from the tragedy that has befallen Matt Murdock after having the victory of the case to seeing his defendant murdered. We find out that Vanessa Fisk did have an affair at some point. Now, I don't remember if this was actually covered in the Netflix series. Maybe it was, but I can't remember specifically if this was said like, this is while you were gone. So maybe this happened during Echo or any of the other parts that he was part of, or Hawkeye. But we do find out, and we kind of see a different side of Wilson, seemingly forgiven. You know, I've moved on. I can accept, and I had a chat with him, and then the line comes up as like, well, how did he leave the conversation? And then it kind of ends there, very ambiguous. And it's just, but it's kind of funny again, because, you know, it's not speaking from experience, but it's something that we do encounter a lot. Is like, well, she's still a cheater. So if she cheated once, could she again? Has she again? Well, we might find this out. We don't know. And then there's a question at the end that we do find near the end of the episode, where she was asked, like, do you feel safe with a man like Wilson Fisk, and so on and so forth. But then the biggest question that was kind of asked at this point is like, well, you have to choose whether you want to save the marriage or end it. And I do believe that this is going to be a theme, obviously, that's going to be recurring throughout the show as well, is not only with the marriage, but do you choose to save what you've built, what you've built upon, or do you choose to end that and then give into your darker selves? Because we are watching Wilson Fisk try to turn over a somewhat new leaf as the mayor of New York, and Matt Murdock trying to turn over a new leaf just as a lawyer without being Daredevil and the Kingpin. But is this where we're going to leave it? Is everything going to work? Well, we're not even halfway through the show yet, so there's still time to see where this could go. And then we kind of get into, well, there's a bar scene involving, again, I cannot remember his character because he has not made that much of an impact on me yet. Um, Gandolfini's character, who is at the bar, um, and as they leave, they want him to do more stuff. They want him to drink more. They want us to do some, take some medication. And he says, "No, I gotta go. Get me a cab, and I'm just gonna go." And then the camera pans, and they see a guy being arrested for fiddle faddle, and then fiddle faddle becomes the bane of my existence for about the next 20 minutes of this episode because fiddle faddle, fiddle faddle, fiddle faddle, fiddle faddle, fiddle faddle. They won't stop saying fiddle faddle. Um, and then this guy is getting arrested for stealing fiddle faddle, and then it's kind of a neat dynamic where we see the pro bono work of Matt Murdock coming into where he's working for his defendant who's been in the system for so long. And he's just trying to give him not the runaround, but very similar kind of like, this is the best I can do. You're a repeat offender. What do you want? They're not going to do this. And the guy, poor guy is getting upset and he has to do what he has to do, Matt, in this case. And he goes and he works with, I guess it seemed like it was almost like a turnstile event. Instead of actually getting in front of the judge, it was just kind of people like, this is the best I can do. This is what I'm going to give you. And next, this is what I'm going to give you. Next, this is what I'm going to give you. Next. And it was a neat dynamic showing Matt being a lawyer. Now, I was trying to find, excuse me, I was trying to find if there was something thematically important about this. And I know there is near the end, but I was trying to see if this had to do anything else with the bigger picture. Ultimately, I couldn't because I was also competing with a lot of other noise in the room as I was watching this. But it ends with with Matt getting the deal that he supposedly thinks will benefit his client. 10 days less time served, so he'd only be in for a week or something that line. He's like, well, this is a win. We got you a week down from 30. The guy says, I don't want to go to prison. This is it. The reason I went to prison, the reason I'm in this situation is because when I was in prison last time, they cut my benefits, or I was supposed to have my meeting to meet with such and such to do this, and I was in prison, or I was in a hearing and I couldn't do it, so they cut my benefits. And when I came out trying to do all this stuff, it's hard to do when they cut your stamps, and you went from already having not very much to even less, and you're doing this, and you're trying to make ends meet, and trying to blah, 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 blah. It's not blah, blah, blah. It's a very heartbreaking story because as much as this is a dramatization, a show, this is probably a real way of life for a lot of people, which is incredibly unfortunate and awful. But then you look at Matt kind of looking inward and be like, I probably could have fought a little harder. So thus ends the fiddle faddle controversy. But in amongst all this, he runs into Officer Powell again, and he's like, you obviously you gunned down. He does it like on an aside. You gunned down White Tiger, all this kind of stuff. He's like, I actually had nothing to do with it, and he uses his superpowers to understand, like, oh, he's actually telling the truth. But he recognizes the tattoo from doing his little detective work and seeing the Punisher logo on the bullet casing. And then we see another side of Fisk, which I thought was really cool in this episode too, is he's trying to do the mayor thing. And he said, I want sweeping change, sweeping reform. I want all this stuff to happen. And rightfully so, as much as he wants to do this, much like someone else in power right now, there's the voice of reason, which you can tell Fisk is getting ready to just rip her head off. And she says, well, we can't just tear this down and turn it into what you need it to, or what you feel the city needs. We have to petition for zoning laws. And he said, we'll do that. Well, we have to talk to these people. Well, we'll talk to that board. And it's like, there's 4 steps that you have to go through, but he's willing to do it at the expense of him going insane, clearly. But then you also hear that this is also like mob territory. And there's a conversation that takes it aside where he's like, we're going to have to bring the families together and have a discussion regarding this. And I thought that was really cool because, like, well, is he going to flex his muscles? Is he going to have a meeting as the mayor, or is he going to have a meeting as Kingpin? Which I thought was really cool. And then we built this city twice, technically. And it was meant to be awful. I've read online actually that they re-recorded the audio of this because the kids that actually sang during this initially, they sang it perfectly. So they actually had to go back and re-record separate pieces of audio so it came out of tune, which is why you see Fisk kind of like losing his mind and like, oh, this is great, no more songs, I must go. but this is the thing. It's when he's getting frustrated and he's getting more and more frustrated doing the mayor thing, the actual mayoring, instead of I want to change things, I want this to happen now. But there's a process, and the process that he's going through, kissing babies, going to schools, and all this stuff, you can see it really start to work against what he wants to do, because he's so used to pounding his fist together or crushing someone's head, and then things happen. And when he finds out about the what is it, Mayor Garbage or whatever it was, I can't remember what the actual headline was, and he flies into this rage and like, there's the Kingpin. This is perfect. It's so good to finally see that. And then he calms down. I'm like, this is kind of what we were talking about at the beginning of the episode with Vanessa. He's like, I showed restraint. Yeah, but did you though? Because you did say that if Gandolfini, if he ever did that once again, I'll squeeze the life out of you. Like, well, that's probably not an empty threat. But finally, we get to the part in the episode that eventually a lot of us were waiting for. We got to see John Bernthal return as the Punisher. Now, do we get to see him suit up as the Punisher? No. We see a very messed up and down in the dumps. We clearly see that he's his own guy in the chair again. He doesn't have a weasel. He doesn't have any of these things. He's got the board of the people that he's trying to track down. And he reveals that, like, that wasn't me. I didn't kill White Tiger. These are obviously insane fanatics. So that kind of absolves him from that. And then Matt starts going, it's like, you could be doing all of this for good. And it's a different kind of take on Matt's character, because throughout the majority of the show so far, he's been very well composed and he's got this real sarcastic attitude with Frank. And it comes out that I don't have time to do the things that you do as a hero. I don't have time for hero crap. I don't get to put on the suit and do like, I don't have time. I see a problem, I fix it. And then he kind of has the conversation that kind of switches, it pivots. So instead of Matt going after Frank, then it's Frank kind of going after Matt and letting him loose, as it were, to be like, where were you for Foggy? Which really kind of messes with Matt. Obviously, he's lost his best friend, and it's still clearly a fresh wound for him. And it was pretty sad to see. Like, it was great acting, obviously, from Charlie Cox, but to see Matt cry, and it was just like, I couldn't want to do it, and he actually, like, out of rage, punches Frank, and he apologizes, what sets this whole wave of emotions off. And excuse me, and we get this really kind of touching moment that I'm hoping will kind of develop more. I'm hoping that we're going to get to see Punisher suit up. I imagine if we don't get to see it in this season, that he'll make an appearance in the second season, as well as his. I think he's getting a short series as well, if not a one shot. And it was nice to see. It was John Bernthal. I don't want to say, well, he's a phenomenal actor. Like, I don't want to say like he's the greatest actor, but like he is good. He was great in Fury. As much as I didn't like his character in The Walking Dead, like, he portrayed mental illness and psych whatever he was at that point, losing his mind. He did that pretty well. And there's a ton of other things that I've seen him in. Like, he's great in The Bear, and he does well as Frank Castle, especially as a broken Punisher. Um, so then that's kind of, it's not really where the episode ends, because we get a couple more little scenes. We get to see Muse near the very end, which again, we don't know a whole lot, because we've been seeing all these murals all over New York, especially like, like Mayor, Kingpin, and then the Devil, Hell's Kitchen, all these different things that are popping up. And you got to wonder, like, well, has Muse been painting these? Because he's using the blood of his victims, and there's people hanging that's in his little den of sin, and that's really where it ends for him. So, like, well, obviously we're going to start to get into his character a little more. We got to see um, Wilson. Uh, we got to see how he was lying, and we had a conversation with, where his name was Josh or Finnegan. I don't know what his name was, but he's in a cell where Fisk is going to have his rigatoni or whatever, and I kept him alive, but he's going to suffer for what he did to Vanessa, even though it was Vanessa's fault, really. But you're like, all right, well, you wronged me by uh, participating in an affair with my wife, so you shall live here. And you hear Mr. Fisk, Mayor Fisk, please, please let me out. And again, that kind of ends, so you see the darker side of Kingpin still there. And then the last part of the episode too, was Matt going home, finding his love there, and they do whatever. They make whoopee, but then he can't sleep. You see him lying down. It's like, no. Clearly, you see all the scars that were left by Bullseye from all his little knives and his baby knives, and can't sleep. Runs up to the roof, opens up his gauntlet, and we get to see the masks. I think there was 5 masks. We saw his red mask. We saw there's a silver or gray mask. There's a black mask there, I'm pretty sure, as well. We didn't have my favorite mask. I know it's from the comics as well, but I loved it in the show. Was his first mask when he just becomes before he becomes true Daredevil, and he's just got the cloth, like the hood or whatever. That was so good. But that's not there obviously because he's got his Daredevil stuff. There's this yellow one that we saw in um, She-Hulk, and I believe there was a different one as well. Maybe it was like inverted colors. I'm not sure, but like they all look great because like the glowing eyes and everything is so good. We don't get to see any of the suits, but then he brings out his sticks, especially that has a. It looks like they've got a little bit more um, stuff to them now. And I don't know the name of the weapon that he's using, but we've seen it so many times. We saw it in I'm pretty sure it was in Kill Bill. I think it was in Kingsman, but it's the ball and chain with the sticky and the knifey and everything. But anyways, it's clear that either he has been training on the rooftop or he's just getting back into it. But Matt Murdock might be kind of fading into the background, and Daredevil might be coming out as well, which obviously we as the fans of the show are hoping to see. So it kind of comes back to that theme of, are we going to let it end, or are we going to save? Are we going to keep doing what we've been doing, or are we going to end and embrace something else? And it's clear that both of these themes are kind of, these decisions are bashing against each other the entire time. And it seems very much, at least from Matt's point of view, that he's going to be giving into the Daredevil persona, and we're going to be seeing more of the man without fear. Whereas we're seeing Kingpin kind of reaching the point of like rage, and then he kind of brings it back. But you see that he still has skeletons in his closet. Well, one very much alive skeleton. But where is this going to go from here? Well, I'm not totally sure. I've got ideas, but this week's episode or the next episode that's going to be coming up is what I'm pretty sure this is going to be the mid-season finale. Um, so there's probably going to be some big revelation at the end of the episode, which is going to lead into the decisions that are going to dictate the second half of the season. Are we going to see him suit up? Are we going to see him beat the bejesus out of somebody? Obviously, Muse is going to start playing bigger into this. The show we've seen, excuse me, we've seen John Bernthal's Punisher. Are we going to see him again? I hope so, because I don't think at least his little Punisher cult is going to go away. But again, that could be something that's going to be dealt with in his series. Like he's going to go after the ringleaders of this Punisher fanatic group. So overall, it was a great episode, but it wasn't something that's super gripping. It's cool to see some of the stuff going on, like Wilson embracing a little bit more of what it takes to be the mayor, and Matt seeing a little bit more of the system that like we never got to see in terms of his cases that he was taking care of. But clearly, maybe he was overlooking to a point. Um, but we did get to see, again, like I've mentioned, the darker sides come out of these two characters. So overall, great episode. It's not the best. I'm still thinking that like like the Law and Order episode of episode 3 was great because we get to see some great lawyering from Matt. And as much as people didn't like the first episode from the janky CGI, it was still a great initial scene. So I'm looking forward, as I usually am, to seeing how the rest of this goes. Um, I want to see more Muse because that's just nasty. I'm painting with the blood of my victims. Like it's so comic-y, right? But I'm sure there's been people out there that have done that before. Ugh. Um, so yeah, I mean, stay tuned because there's going to be more Daredevil Born Again reviews. And obviously, if I'm hoping that we're going to get to see more of the Punisher, so if we're going to do a Punisher series, yeah, I'm going to be getting into that as well. So that's kind of where I'm going to leave it because we've got more episodes to do. We've got more episodes to review. So with that, I'm going to finish off with a bit of housekeeping that we always do. If you're new to the channel, thank you so much for stopping by and watch me drone on at great length for, well, what am I? Oh, geez, I'm almost at 20 minutes. Whew, this is a long video. drone on about Daredevil Born Again. And if you want to see me do more, what you should do is just hit that subscribe button down below, because we're still moving up. We're almost at 11K there now, but we'd like to hit 15, and then eventually the logical step is to hit the million, right? Because then we start getting YouTube plaques. So if you could help us do that, that'd be great. And if you're returning to the channel, as always, make sure to hit the share, tell all your friends about it, and comment down below about where you thought of the episode and where you hope the rest of the season is going to be going as well. So with that, I'm Peter Parkour of the Distorted Theorists, and like we always say around here, keep it real.